to Ideas with Impact podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra. Today we have the pleasure of introducing Drew Menning, a renowned fitness trainer who has made a significant impact in the health and wellness community. Drew is New York Times best-selling author of a book called Fit to Fat to Fit, creator of the Fit to Fat TV show on A&E, and the creator of Fit to Fat to Fit. He has been on shows such as Dr. Oz, GMA, The View, and so many more. He is on a mission to bring more empathy to the fitness industry through his new brand called Conscious Fitness. Join us as we delve into Drew's remarkable story and uncover the invaluable insights he has to offer. Let's get started. Hey, Drew, how are you?
Good, good. How are you, Alexandra?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have you on and hear all about your journey. I myself been a huge fan of yours for the past 8 years or so. So I've been following your journey for quite some time. So I would love to for you to share with my audience about your journey of how you got into the business and the most remarkable thing that you've done. You went on a journey of gaining weight not once but twice. Can
Yeah.
you share that with us? Why you
Yeah.
did it? What was the reason for behind it? And yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit of backstory about me. I grew up in a family of 11 brothers and sisters, and we all played sports. So ever since I was a young kid, I played American football and wrestling, which that kind of lifestyle requires a lot of physical activity. So my entire life, I was always in shape. I was always fit. Always took care of my body because I had to perform at these sports. And so naturally, as a consequence of that, I was, a pretty fit guy my whole life. It's all I'd ever known. And fast forward to 2009, I became certified as a personal trainer. So here I was, someone who had never been overweight a day in their life, became a personal trainer trying to help people, who had been overweight pretty much every day of their life, trying to help them lose weight. And there was an obvious disconnect between the way I perceived transformation and the reality of these clients going through the process. And I couldn't understand why it was so hard for them. I was like, for me, in my mind, it's so easy. You just put down the junk food, you go to the gym, you be disciplined, and you just do it, right? That was the mentality I had my whole life. And so I was kind of more of a judgmental, personal trainer. I will totally admit that and own that. And then I had a client who was my brother-in-law at the time who told me, he's like, Drew, you don't understand what it's like for me or for people like me, because for you, it's always been easy. But for me or for us, it's really hard and you don't understand. And I was like, you're right. I don't understand why it's so hard. It seems so simple. And then that got me thinking of like, okay, how can I gain a better understanding? And for whatever reason, I don't know why, but like this thought popped into my head, like, what if you got fat on purpose? And like this light bulb went off, like, oh my gosh, I think I'm actually going to do this crazy experiment. Like, what if I got fat on purpose and documented the journey, and maybe that would give me a better understanding? And so back in 2011, I came up with this idea of going from fit to fat to fit. And the idea was for 6 months, no exercise, eat a unrestricted diet, so whatever I wanted to eat for 6 months, and then try and lose the weight in the next 6 months. And the journey of doing that was so humbling and so hard. And I documented the journey. The story went viral on social media, online, just organically landed me on a bunch of popular US TV shows, book deals, all the things from this crazy experience of this personal trainer that decided to get fat on purpose and document the journey. But it was one of the hardest, most humbling things. And I learned so many valuable lessons. And fast forward to today, that's kind of what most people know me as, is the fit to fat to fit guy. And we can dive into all the specifics of like what I learned and how I did it and what I ate and all the stuff. But that's kind of like a summary of my fit to fat to fit journey, if you will.
Yeah. So yeah, let's dive into a little bit of the food. Like, because you were pretty healthy yourself, right? And then you had to switch to eat basically the said diet.
Yes.
How was that for you?
It was fun at first.
It's fun.
It was really fun at first. Like all the first couple weeks were like a kid in a candy store. Like, oh my gosh, I can eat all this food. I can eat whenever I want to, whatever I want to. It felt like freedom in a sense to be able to like, eat all this delicious, highly processed junk food that we have here in America that is super cheap, super affordable, um, and very convenient and designed to be hyper palatable, which means these foods are designed to be as addictive as possible. And this is why they taste so amazing. They make you feel good. They give you the
Right.
dopamine release. And
You
we have
crave
access to
more, right?
food
You want more of
multiple
it.
times per day.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. We have access to this type of food. And so this is the type of food that I focused on was this highly processed junk food that we have here in America that is, like I said, super cheap and affordable. It's cheaper than real food. It's marketed to us sometimes as health food, right? Because maybe it might be like, oh, it has vitamins and minerals in it, or it's like low fat, or it's all natural, or like these marketing terms that
Right.
people think, oh, well, this isn't that bad. And then that's the food that 80% of our population eats. And I understand now why it's so addictive. I understand why people gravitate towards that food versus chicken and broccoli or salad because, yeah, it does taste way better and it's cheaper. And so I tell people all the time, if you want to get in shape, it's an uphill battle. Our society has it backwards where people have to pay more, do
Yes,
harder things, get more uncomfortable to actually change or achieve the change that they're seeking. It's an
absolutely.
uphill battle for people. And that's why people are like, us too hard.
Or they
And
give
I
up
understand.
so quickly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
try and then they're like, "That's it, I can't do it," and it's hard. Yeah, I totally understand. So for you, for example, when did you notice the changes? Like, how far did you go in to notice the changes in your body?
Yeah. So I did the weight gain process for 6 months. I would say within the first month, the changes were pretty noticeable. Like my cardio was, the first thing to go. So walking up the stairs, I was winded. I remember having to bend over and like tie my shoes and like having to hold my breath because of all the visceral fat that was accumulating around my organs, which made it harder to breathe as you bent over. And, but, my sleep started to be affected and started snoring at night, which I don't snore, but my wife at the time was like, yeah, you're snoring. And so it disrupted my sleep patterns, which disrupted my hormones. And I feel like that it's a cascade of effects that happen when
Yeah.
live this unhealthy lifestyle. So pretty quickly within the first month, it was pretty noticeable. I gained, I think, 24 pounds the first month, which is quite a bit. And, but I gained 76 total over the course of 6 months. And it was a really, really hard journey because my identity was wrapped around my body image. So my body image was my self image at that point in time in my life. I didn't know how to separate the two. So in my mind, I was always Drew, the fit guy. But when I
Right.
gained the weight, when I gained 50, 60, 70 pounds, I'll be totally honest with you. I freaked out. I had a huge identity crisis. I wanted to go up to strangers and explain to them that I wasn't really overweight, that this was just an experiment. And I wanted to show them my before picture because I felt so uncomfortable for the first time being overweight that it humbled me and I kind of freaked out because my identity was wrapped in my body image as my self image. And this is what I tell people is like if you can separate your body image from your self image and realize that your body is just a part of you, your body isn't your identity. Unfortunately, in this world we live in, your body and your physical appearance, kind of defines you, or people define you by your physical looks
Right.
and place judgment on you or label you this or that. And so we start to buy into that myth that I am my body is me, and that visual representation, we kind of get stuck on that. But I feel like it's a healthier approach to understand that your body can change, right? That your
Right.
body ages, you could lose a limb, you could go through, plastic surgery, you could change your body, you could lose weight, you could gain weight, gain muscle. There's lots of things you could do to manipulate and change your body image or your physical appearance. So not learning how to not tie your body image to your self image, I think, is super valuable as you get older and wiser to realize that you have more to offer this world than just your physical appearance and your body composition. If you could detach from that, I think it's an easier path to be on versus always being tied to like, what do I look like? How is my appearance? And understanding that just your body image does not need to be your identity.
Yeah, but it's so hard for people because, as you said earlier, we are in the society of the perfect body, the perfect this, and I
Yes.
think it's just so hard for people. But people like you come in and doing something like this, it's totally unheard of. I think you're the first person who's ever done this.
Well, here's the thing. I want to like like yes and no. Yes, in that I'm a personal trainer who did this on purpose to gain better understanding. But celebrities do this for movie roles. They get paid a lot of money to
Yeah.
sometimes put on weight. Moms, I want to, moms are the real heroes here. They do this
Yes,
all the
I
time.
know.
And they get a baby out of it. I got a food baby out of it. But anyways,
I love it.
to do it on purpose, to put yourself through that intentionally, yeah. I mean, there are people on my TV show that did it. So we created a TV show around this concept called Fit to Fat to Fit, and we put other trainers through it because it humbles them and it teaches them empathy and respect for their clients. And so there are other people who have done it, but
Mhm.
yeah, not too many people do it intentionally.
So, what was the biggest lesson again that you've learned from it that you helping other people?
Two major things. One is that transformation
Mhm.
is way more mental and emotional than people think. So that's the first thing, is that a lot of people go into a physical, weight loss journey thinking macros, calories, workouts, supplements. And if I do these things, then I'll get this body. And then once I have this body, then I'll be happy. Then people will love me. Then I'll love myself. And that's kind of the traditional approach of like, I just got to, willpower my way to eat this food, hit these macros, do these workouts, and I understand that. But we are emotional creatures as humans, and people don't factor in the human element of transformation of things like emotional eating and the emotional connection to food. That was the other lesson, was the emotional connection to food is way more powerful than I ever imagined. Because I used to think just have willpower and just be disciplined and just don't eat junk food. It's the same kind of approach or mentality that you would say to like to drug addicts, like, hey, just stop doing drugs. Why do you
Yeah.
keep doing drugs? I don't understand why you don't just stop. And that's a lack of empathy. And it hurts people who feel judged or misunderstood. As drug addicts, it's if they could give up the addiction, they would. But this is why addiction is so much deeper than just someone's ability to willpower their way out of the situation or just say no. It shows how complex the human situation is in this life, where instead of asking why the addiction, I've learned to ask why the pain. What's the pain you're trying to
Find
escape?
it.
And if you're trying to escape the pain, most people find relief through drugs or alcohol or food, temporarily at least. Those are probably the three most accessible ways to escape that are, classified as unhealthy, if you will. Because if you're constantly escaping from the pains of life through these type of substances, you create a vicious cycle, and your brain starts to become programmed over time, over days, months, years, and decades of doing the same thing. Oh, when I'm sad, I'm triggered and I eat the food. Or when I'm lonely or I get into a fight with my spouse or my kids are driving me crazy, I reach for the
I'll go get
alcohol,
that
right?
ice
Or
cream.
whatever
Yeah.
it is.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so people have been doing that. They programmed their brain for years or decades because it feels good. When you get the dopamine release, it's the pleasure molecule. It gives you the sense of like, oh, like that feels good. So whether it's drugs or alcohol or food, and food is the most accessible drug because you don't have to go out of your way to find it. You could DoorDash it. You could pick it up at a grocery store, a gas
Yeah.
station, a restaurant.
Right.
You have access to it any time of the day, and it's not illegal. It's totally legal, and you could escape the pains of life multiple times a day, every single day, and it does taste good and make you feel good temporarily. So those were the biggest lessons: was the mental and emotional side of transformation is way undervalued, and most people don't have the tools to overcome those hurdles. And then the emotional connection to food is way more powerful than people think it is, and it is like in any other addiction, and it's not easy to overcome because it's everywhere. It's in our faces, and it's part of our culture. Like, oh, it's Friday night, let's drink. Or hey, it's the Super Bowl, let's eat this food. Or hey, it's like it's you're sad, you lost your job, let's eat some ice cream to drown our sorrows. So
Yeah.
anyways, does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. Right. Super Bowl. Just passed yesterday, so I got it. I was really good myself. I just stick with the wings and carrot
There
sticks.
you
So it's pretty healthy. So, how did your relationship with food um, transform in the 6 months of, like, did you got addicted? Did you had a hard time, for example, when you after the 6 months when you were trying to clean and eat clean and get back into the shape that you were?
go. Yeah.
Was it difficult?
Yeah, this was one of the learning lessons that I experienced. So I ate a lot of highly processed junk food that we have here in America that, I'll be honest with you, tastes delicious for 6 months straight, right? About 5,000-ish calories per day of, like sugary cereals, sugary sodas, juices, granola bars, chips, cookies, crackers, white pasta, white bread, things like SpaghettiOs and Hot Pockets and Top Ramen and mac and cheese and all that food for 6 months straight. And I went from that for 6 months straight to eating real whole food. And this is what happened: is the first 2 weeks getting off of the processed junk food to go into whole food surprised me, because I thought my body would respond really well to eating the healthy food. My body felt like crap. My body felt like junk for about 2 weeks straight. It was miserable. Even though I was eating healthy food, my body had gotten so accustomed to the high that it had, received from this food, of this processed junk food, for 6 months straight, and then going to eating like chicken and broccoli and kale and spinach and all that stuff. The food didn't taste as good. I felt hungry and all the time. I had a headache. I had headaches, constant headaches. I was moody and I was grumpy because my body's like, "Where's this drug that you've been giving us?" And now all of a sudden you're giving us this, chicken and broccoli, which is good, but doesn't give you the same dopamine hit that, ice cream would, right? And so it really opened up my eyes, and a light bulb went off of like, oh, this is what my clients have been telling me when I give them a meal plan and expect them to be perfect with it. Like, hey, here, just follow this. Don't eat the junk food.
Mhm.
Thinking it's so easy, right? And then when I went through it, I realized how much my own body was fighting back against me. My own biology was like, hey, this sucks. We don't like this. We want this easy path that you've created for us. So it really helped me develop empathy for those that struggle with food addictions and emotional eating, self sabotage behaviors, because I could better understand why people get stuck there. And I think empathy is a huge driving force for change, because there's a good quote I love by Teddy Roosevelt. He says, "No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care." And that right there is what Fit is all about. It's about understanding the importance of seeing people and making them feel seen and heard and understood before they are even willing to follow you. Because you could have all the knowledge in the world as a personal trainer, a coach, a doctor, a leader of some type that has knowledge, but people don't really care about that until they feel like you care about them on a deeper level. And that's really what helped me develop that. Like I said, empathy is a game changer because it helps people feel safe in your presence. It makes people feel understood. And that's something that's powerful medicine, in my opinion. And so it really opened up my eyes to the importance of truly caring for people and believing their stories of why they are the way they are. And that really changed me as a personal trainer, having gone through this experience, to where now I'm a better listener. I can better understand where people are coming from. And I have so much more empathy for those that struggle, that get stuck in those vicious cycles of food addiction or self sabotage or emotional eating or lack of self worth. And this is why I have so much empathy for those that struggle with weight loss, because I'm trying to tell people it's not as easy or simple as we think it is. Like, we try and make it as if people are robots. Like, hey, just eat less food and work out and, follow these guidelines and just do it.
It's a
But like I said,
lifestyle change as well, right? It's the mindset
yeah,
of changing everything around you. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that was a big surprise, going from the junk food to the real whole food. It really opened up my eyes and gave me a lot better understanding of why people get stuck. And I mean, eventually I did lose the weight. Obviously, like, I had to break through that first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of like the cravings, the intense cravings. And then eventually your body adjusts, your taste buds adjust. to eating the real food, and you start to feel good. You start to feel better. You have more energy. You're sleeping better. You have better libido. You have more focus, better digestion, better skin. All the benefits of eating the healthy food start to kick in. Then you do start to feel better. Then you start to pick up some momentum, and it becomes a part of your lifestyle, like you mentioned. And to make a long story short, I did get back to fit, but there was a lot of struggles in there and a lot more empathy that was developed during that experience.
So when you're working with someone, for example, it's usually what, 6 months approximately, like a work.
Well, it depends on who I'm working with, but like for me, it took me 6 months to lose the weight.
Mhm.
That's different. Like if I was someone who had never really worked out consistently in my life and I was 70 pounds overweight, it might take longer. My journey of losing the weight is different than someone who's been overweight for years or decades. Just because our different metabolism, different homeostasis, different set point, like muscle memory, discipline, knowledge. My journey was totally different than someone that was 75 pounds overweight. So,
Right.
but for me, it took me 6 months.
So any tips for individuals who may be starting, for example, later on in their life with their fitness journey, or they want to lose some weight? Like, what's your advice for them?
Yeah, honestly, this is where my brand has kind of evolved from fit to fat to fit into something I call conscious fitness. And this is a new age approach to helping people with transformation, because the old adage of the way we've been doing it is kind of broken. It's a broken system. And this is where doing the inner work or working in is just as important, if not more important, than working out. So I could give someone the best meal plans, the best macros, the best supplements, the best workouts to transform their body. None of that matters if that person doesn't understand themselves on a deeper level to figure out what their triggers are, why they self-sabotage, or just really figure out why you are the way you are, why you do what you do. And this is why I highly recommend a couple books when I'm working with clients. One of them is called What Happened to You by Oprah and Dr. Bruce Perry. Really good book about, instead of asking what's wrong with you or what's wrong with me, you ask what happened to you or what happened to me, and it helps you peel back the layers of like figuring out, okay, for example, why can't I stay consistent with a healthy, lifestyle? Why do I struggle with eating healthy food consistently? And really digging deep around, maybe it's therapy, maybe it's a life coach, maybe it's journaling, maybe it's meditation, maybe it's religion, maybe it's self-reflection techniques that can help you understand, okay, why am I triggered? Why do I, instead of eat the chicken and broccoli, why am I feeling the need to eat the ice cream? And really figuring that out. It's like, oh, when I'm stressed out or overwhelmed with kids, or maybe there's some patterns that have been there since childhood that haven't really been addressed, of like, maybe, I wasn't loved, or maybe I was neglected, or maybe I've never really had self-worth. I've never had someone tell me that they love me or they're proud of me or that I'm worth fighting for.
Yeah.
And so we grew up with this, unconsciously, believing on the subconscious level of like, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough. And so you do it for a couple weeks, and then you go back to those old thought patterns, and you self-sabotage one night, and then after that you start to shame yourself and beat yourself up for doing that, and like, what's wrong with me, why can't I do this? And then the cycle just continues of like, of really making your value or your worth around the results that you achieve or
Yeah.
you don't achieve. And so this is why my whole approach with conscious fitness is teaching people how to operate out of a place of self-love instead of self-hate. And I believe self-love can be just as motivating as self-hate to get you to do the hard and comfortable things that are necessary to bring the change that you're seeking. So this is, talking about self-love versus self-hate for a second, and why I recommend this as advice for people that are just getting started, is because you probably tried the self-hate approach. Beat myself up, shame myself, willpower my way out of this, just discipline myself to do the hard things. But most people have never tried self-love on for size. They've never really tried that approach. And for me, who came from a self-hate mentality the first 34, 35 years of my life, to learning how to develop self-love and seeing the difference it's made in my life and how I teach people now the power of their lovability and their worthiness to achieve the things. Once they believe it, then the script is flipped, where now they start to see
They're
the process.
reprogramming their minds, right?
Yeah, they start to see the
Yeah.
process of like eating healthy, diet, exercise, not as a chore or punishment, but as something, an act of self love. Like I'm doing these things for me because I'm worth it. And when they start to believe that, then they look at the whole transformation process upside down, and they start to see it for what it really is, which is not a punishment or a chore or needing to achieve something to prove my worth or my value to the world, but doing it for myself because it feels good to me. And we start to believe in yourself and love yourself and find your self-worth, then showing up for yourself. You start to see these things as showing up for yourself. Like I deserve to show up for myself today by doing this workout, or I deserve to show up for myself today by meditating or journaling or doing the inner work, or maybe today I deserve to show up for myself by, eating the salad instead of self-sabotaging and eating my emotions. There's little things like that I teach people how to do so that this approach of conscious fitness really takes over, and it makes the process so much more enjoyable, and it's way more fulfilling.
Mm,
So
yeah. So you have the new conscious fitness retreat coming up.
yes,
Can you share a little bit about that with
sure.
us?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that. I've been asked to do this for years. I live here on the big island of Hawaii, and it's a special magical place in this world, and I've really wanted to share it with people for a long time. And so I pulled the trigger on doing my first ever conscious fitness retreat. So all these things that we're talking about, developing self-love, developing self-awareness, doing the inner work, learning how to do that while you're here in Hawaii, with things like breath work and meditation and yoga and cold plunge and sauna and workouts on the beach and going to some amazing hikes and seeing some amazing waterfalls and going on some amazing excursions like swimming with the manta rays, or going stargazing up Mauna Kea, or visiting some black sand beaches. There's all kinds of like amazing activities, but also lessons that will be learned on the conscious fitness side of things, which like I said, it's a new approach to health and fitness, and this is a way to have a firsthand experience while you're here in Hawaii with me as your coach, as your guide. And the first one's coming up in August, July 30th through August 4th, although that one's almost sold out. I think we have just a few spots left. And then I'm doing another one in October 14th through 19th. That's another one that we're doing. And same concept, though, just in a different time for people that, so there's spots available for that one as well. And then there may be one coming in January, February, just because there's a
There's a
demand
lot
for
of
it. There's a
need
lot of
for it.
people applying
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So
So,
how do people can reach you, Drew?
yeah, the easiest way is just to message me on probably Instagram, and all of my social media handles are at fat_2 fit. All of them are on there. And you can also find me at consciousfitnesscoaching.com. I know that's a big one, but consciousfitnesscoaching.com. You can reach out to me there as well for more info on the retreat, or if you want to do breath work with me, or you want like a consultation, like a conscious fitness coaching consultation. That's really hard to say. You can access that on that website.
Okay, and I also noticed that you do live. Is it your first live breath work with people? This is something that you want to implement more often so people can go and follow that, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Breathwork is something that has come on my radar as of recent as a very powerful modality to help people, let go of, some pent up emotions that have been suppressed or stored for long periods of time. And so breathwork is a really cool modality to clear your mind and help you think more clearly. Because when people do breathwork, they're regulating their nervous system so that they are coming from when a lot of us, end up being reactive to certain situations. And when we're reactive, we're not our best selves. When we're just like reacting to a situation when we're triggered, that's where people self-sabotage. That's where people emotionally eat, because that has been built into our subconscious mind for so long. That's our programming. And it's really hard to, make better decisions when it comes to diet and exercise if we're coming from a place of overwhelm, stress, triggered, and we're very reactive. When you do breath work on a daily basis, whether it's a 5 minute session or an hour long session, which is what I do, teach people how to do both of those, your ability to make better decisions, especially when it comes to our physical health, is so much easier when you're coming from a place of calm and responsiveness instead of reactivity. So you're able to thoughtfully respond to situations when you're, coming from a place of calm and peace versus, overwhelmed, which I know what that's like as a single parent, like all the parents out there, like that
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about, where you like take it out on your kids because
Yeah.
you're having a bad day and you're stressed out and you're not your best self. Breath work is one of those tools that helps you to get back to your best self so that you're not as reactive. And so that's something that I offer people now, which is a game changer.
Oh, that's amazing. I was reading Joe Dispenza's book, The Supernatural. Not sure if
Yes.
you read that. Oh my gosh, it's exactly what we were just talking about, or you were just talking about. The breath work and the mindset and everything is absolutely amazing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Drew, I really appreciate your time and coming
Thanks,
on, and I'm so happy to have you on again. I'll have all the information put in the podcast down below. So again, aloha. Thank you so much. I will talk
Yes.
to you later.
Mahalo. Thank you. Aloha.